preschool CDLA families. It's Mrs. Garneau.
And Mrs. Collins.
Welcome. Today, we just wanted to put together a very short and brief curriculum overview of what the second half of our school year is going to look like, just to touch base and give you an understanding of the concepts and the components for math, literacy, and science that we will be reviewing. I also wanted to remind our families that we have our student supply pickup at Discovery Academy this week, every day from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and from 4 to 5 p.m. It is so important that you pick up those materials at school. It's going to be all needed materials that we will be using in our small instructional groups. If you can't get to Discovery this week, please do let Mrs. Collins and myself know so that we can alert the office to hold your materials. Thank you. Now we're just going to share our screen. And here we have, I'm going to put it in present mode. Here we have our second semester curriculum overview.
Okay, I'm going to start and we're going to just look over here at the math column. What Mrs. Garneau and I did was just kind of condense it a little bit just so you can kind of see some of the themes and the topics that the kids are going to be learning this second half of the year. So for counting and cardinality, we're going to really focus on counting to 20 and those teen numbers because they can get tricky, as we all know. And then also we're going to work with them on counting one-to-one correspondence, really moving their fingers as they're counting and really isolating the objects and the numbers. The second thing that we're really going to talk about is number operations, and this can get super tricky for the little ones. So like Mrs. Garneau said, it's really important for those supplies because we do have some counters, which would really, really, really help with them to kind of grasp this skill. So what we're going to be doing is just really looking at simple addition and subtraction, decomposing numbers, seeing what numbers look like. For example, taking the number 5, if I have 3 yellow and 2 red, that make a 5, or 4 yellow and 1 red. So we're going to be really utilizing those counters when we talk about number operations. For measurement, we're going to be looking at volume and capacity, how much something can hold. And for geometry, we put a lot of emphasis this first half on 2D shapes. And in the second half, we're going to be really looking at 3D shapes and comparing the two of 3D and 2D shapes. And we'll also be talking about positional words such as above, under, next to, below, and getting them to use those words when they're describing things. So this is just a quick overview of some of the concepts that we're going to be doing in math. Moving forward.
Next, please just look at the literacy column. Over these next few months, these are going to be the overarching concepts that we're going to be hitting on in our small groups. We will be working on beginning concepts of print, really working hard on noticing the left to right reading progression, identifying characters of stories, being able to orally retell the story, including key details. That's very important. Mrs. Collins and I have been working on that with the students these past few months, but it's going to deepen within the text as we move forward. Also, text connections to other stories and real life events, where the children are able to identify perhaps connections to other stories that we have read together, or even some of their own experiences. We are also going to continue our phonemic awareness Heggerty lessons during the week, which includes, blending words, segmenting words. We're also going to be focusing on syllable identification, clapping out, stamping out how many syllables are in their name and syllables in different words as well. We're also going to continue to extend the sound work, focusing on the beginning sounds of words, but also working on those ending sounds as well. So very critical component to our literacy instruction in pre-K wrapped around phonemic awareness. We also, in our second semester, are moving into our letter writing in our foundations instructions, which is going to begin with the lowercase formation moving to uppercase. That is daily instruction that we do with your child every day. So they will need their foundations writing grid every day for small group. And of course, we will be reviewing letters and sounds with our picture cards. But just to show you is that the students will be learning 2 lowercase letters to form a week. After that progression with lowercase, we move into the uppercase. But traditionally, it's 2 letters a week with review of previous letters. There is specific language to form those letters, referring to the skylines and the plane and the grass and the worm line. But if your child has their writing grid every day, that instruction is going to build upon each other, and wonderful foundational learning as they move into kindergarten as well, where they'll also be experiencing review with all of those letters and how to properly form those letters as well. So that is our literacy overview for the next few months.
All right, I am going to jump into STEM, and we put a huge emphasis on STEM because we are a STEM school. And I'm just going to talk about some of the science practices we're going to be focusing on with our kids moving forward. So a big component of our STEM program is utilizing the scientific method, thinking like a scientist, engaging in simple investigations. So what that means is just kind of bringing their attention to the different vocabulary. Like we may say making a prediction is now called making a hypothesis. So kind of just weaving in those different science words and kind of taking them through, okay, first we have to make a guess, then we have to do the experiment, then we have to go over all of our data like scientists do, and then kind of, change what our thinking is. So it's just really getting them to think open-endedly. And again, this is using our 5E model, which is with a lot of engagement and inquiry-based activities. Again, so those supplies are really going to come in handy because there are a lot of materials for them that we're going to be using moving forward with some of our STEM activities. Also, too, what's important that we want our kids to know for the second half of the year is, like I stated before, communicating about relationships between actions and events. I'm thinking about in February, we're going to start exploring with water. What happens when you put it out in the cold? What happens when you bring it in, to warmth? So it's a lot of what's happening, why is it happening, kind of really sparking their cognitive flexibility. Lots of questioning, commenting, observations. They're going to be doing alongside with us. And some of the concepts that we are going to be exploring with them by utilizing our STEM practices are, we're going to look at water moving forward, plants and planting, especially in the spring. There is so much for them to learn, very hands-on. We're going to talk about seasons, the changing weather patterns from moving from winter to spring and then spring to summer. We're going to talk a lot about Arctic animals now that it's cold and it's winter, and their habitats, what they do in the winter. And then also we're going to look towards the end of the year about oceanography, how it's, now that it's starting to get warmer and, the kids are going to start to see more things about beach and ocean. So we're going to, start to look at that in the different animals or mammals and kind of categorizing all of those types of wonderful things. So again, for STEM, it's just going to be really delving into using the scientific method, thinking like a scientist, and looking at what scientists do. So I was just going to ask, thank you so much for watching our video, just to kind of show you what we're going to be doing moving forward in this next semester. We just wanted to kind of bring it to your attention. That way, it can engage and spark some conversations with the kids, or kind of get them excited to jump on Zoom with us, and all of the great and new learning that we're going to be doing for this coming semester. So Mrs. Garneau, I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to add, but.
And I just want to thank families. I know we had mentioned how important the use of Seesaw is, and making sure you're checking Seesaw every day. Seesaw is our enrichment supplemental instruction that supports the learning that your child is doing. So it's a tangible evidence for Mrs. Collins and I to see, and it helps us drive and adjust our instruction. So just be sure that you are checking Seesaw every day. And of course, if you have any barriers with accessing Seesaw or completing activities, please let Mrs. Collins and I know. We know this is so much, but we're very excited about these next few months, and to sustain together, we all need to be working together as a strong team. So thank you, families.
Thank you so much. We're so very grateful for you and all your hard work with the kids.